John Bauer is the guy I went to high school with. To be honest, I never paid much attention to him. I didn't know him well, but I thought he was very intelligent and also a little weird. But I admired him. Fast forward 30 years at our 30-year high school reunion, I meet John and we end up having tea at Kirstenbosch Botanical Gardens and talking about life. I figured John was a little weird after all, but in the best possible way. He is an artist and a highly accomplished one at that, who's learned to embrace his little weirdness and turn it into not only a very profitable business, but also, and more importantly, into a happy life. Listen on if you'd like to hear some pretty epic inspiration and some very, very actionable tips. John Bauer, thank you so much for joining me. It's so good to have you. And I don't know if you know this, but we met in 1993 when I came to Cape Town to Westerford High School, Standard 8. And you were in that year. And we did high school together for the last 3 years. And we kind of regained communication a few months ago when we had our 30-year high school reunion. Scary as that sounds. So yeah, it's great to have you. And before I hand over, I have to say I was reading through your website, and there was one line in your bio that kind of jumped out at me because I thought, yes, this describes John pretty well from what I remember. And that's that in your bio it says, there's always a surprise factor in his work. And I remember you as the guy that always had a surprise factor whenever I bumped into him. And even when we chatted a few months ago, you also surprised me. So I think that's something that I love about you. And it's going to be part of what we talk about. But anyway, welcome. Thanks so much. And perhaps to start off, for those that don't know you, can you tell us a bit about what you do?
So essentially, I'm an artist, but I didn't start out and say I'm going to be an artist. I'm an artist because people accused me of being an artist, and I acquiesced to the term because they seemed to want to write a check that was 10 times bigger if I accepted that they called me an artist. And, I might be nutty, but no one is that nutty that they would turn down a massive value jump if you just acquiesce to their term that they put on you. So essentially, I make stuff and I invent stuff and I buy machines often on auction that have lost their relevance. And then I adapt them to the ceramic industry. And my philosophy has always been get out of the way. So there are lots of people who are very, very ambitious and they're really eager to get to the top. And they will make a lot of noise and they will muddy up your pool so you can't do any fishing and create havoc and confusion. So I've always believed just find your own little place far from the madding crowd and find tranquility and peace and do what you've got to do. And for me, I want to use my brain to the best possible potential. And that's both in service of people around me, because everybody has a unique perspective. And so I'm lucky that people come to me with the craziest of problems. And I'm like, well, you could try solving it in this way or solve it in that way. So essentially, I go by the term problem solver or materials engineer. But I suppose now my biggest project is putting up these tiles around the city that become people's museums, and people can come past and see museum fixtures all around the city in public spaces rather than behind the veil of a paywall.
And I mean, I think that what's interesting about you is that, yes, I've always known you as a problem solver, or perhaps a person that can see things from different perspectives. I think that's such a wonderful quality to have, to see things from a different perspective. Is this something you've always had, or have you harnessed it, or have you noticed it in other people and adopted it yourself? How is it that you can be a problem solver and have different solutions to things that people might not regularly see?
I think it's the bravery to be other. So what I do is there were a few things that created otherness in me. And when you other, you don't have to dance to the drum of the tribe. When I was 5, a drunk driver drove over my mother and my grandmother, killing them both. Definitely put me in an other category, because when you're 6 and somebody says, "Where's your mommy?" you look up and go, "She's dead." That puts you in a deep other. And also it puts you in a position where you immediately know the power of your words to hurt people, because people are actually pained knowing that this little boy's mother was killed by a drunk driver. And that pain that they experience, they don't know what to do with. And so you have to do a little bit of a dance to like not burn people away from you. By having a radical degree of otherness, it's enabled me to see things a lot more objectively than other people do.
I think a lot of people think that they are different to the rest of the pack. A lot of people, maybe even most people, think that they don't fit in. And that's quite a big source of pain for people growing up and even into their adult life. Everybody's trying to fit in. The freedom and the peace comes from being ourselves. And we're all different to the rest. And when I think of you, I think of somebody who was always unapologetically himself. I remember at school, we weren't friends, and I always thought you were super clever, but also a little bit weird. Like you were on your own mission, you were just doing your thing. And in a way, I admired that, because it felt like, to me, you need strength to just do that and not really care what other people think. Like, what would you say to somebody that's trying to fit in and isn't comfortable being themselves? How did you do it? I mean, did you struggle through that, or were you comfortable with it? But whether you were struggling or not, you certainly seemed like you were yourself and not trying to fit into the mold, which I think is fantastic.
I think fitting into the mold requires a certain amount of memory. And I don't have incredible memory, so I can sort of only be me. I think often the things that people admire about you, you have no control of. So, being yourself, I don't have the ability to be anyone else.
For people that don't know, because you told me this, you were diagnosed with something. Can you tell us what that is? And is it a blessing or is it a curse?
So it's a blessing being diagnosed. It's just who I am. So my whole life I was trying to explain to people that I'm struggling with certain things, and like people just couldn't understand it. Like I would say to people, I can't read. And they say, "But do you know how to read?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I can teach somebody else how to read. I just can't sit and do it myself." And they couldn't grasp this, and I couldn't explain it better. But when I was 37, I went to a neuropsychologist. The neuropsychologist said, "You can't see. You can't see faces. You can't see letters. You can't decode visual information." So it's not like I'm going to bump into something, but it's the subtlety between one letter and another. It takes a massive effort for me to draw out that information. And so I guess that I don't have room for careless anxiety, because my brain is working so hard just to navigate a few simple things that other people take for granted.
So not being able to make up one letter from the next, or phases and things like that, would you say that puts you more in the present?
Extremely. Because I don't really grasp time. So people will say to me, "How long does it take you to make one tile?" Like from scratch, or one at a time, or like to me, it's like I'm in a bath of everythingness, and I just do whenever I do. Yeah.
How is it that you came to do these tiles? Is this your passion? Would you say it's your purpose? Do you love doing it? And
Yeah.
did you get to where you are because you weren't able to, visually see things as clearly as others?
So that's a great question. It is most definitely a passion, but it's a very clever maneuver on my part because there's no one else who makes John Bauer tiles. So John Bauer tiles are whatever I decide John Bauer tiles are. And so sometimes I'll have interns from China and I'll say to them, oh, guys, like just sit here and move these things around. And then I'll watch how they move those tiles around. And I'll watch their visual sensibility. Because for me, it's a game of engagement. I'm not trying to create the Mona Lisa. I'm trying to build a bridge. And these tiles are a vehicle that frees up enough of my time that I can interact with people and have the freedom to understand people, understand their otherness. And as an other person, if you have the time to interact with people with compassion, that's the ultimate luxury in life. People are the real treasure. Money comes and goes, and status comes and goes. In the art world, you're the flavor of the month, and then you're not, and then this and that. And really, being at peace and being able to speak with somebody in a way that increases their personal peace, that is the greatest gift, I'd say.
That's lovely, because that is a beautiful gift, and I would have to agree with you. But to you, it sounded to me like that is really the greatest gift for you. And like you said, what you do allows you to do that. So actually, the search that you're after is the connection with the person in the moment. And art allows you to do that. But it could maybe
Absolutely.
perhaps be something else.
I connect in so many different
Yeah.
ways. One of the ways I connect is I gift beads to travelers, and they travel around spending beads instead of money. And it's an amazing project because they send me WhatsApp videos of what they've traded the beads for. And I'm astonished as to how other people value these things. And, we all in the first ripple, but when you look at the fifth ripple, the 20th ripple, the 70th ripple, and as it goes out, it's really, really beautiful to see the commonality in these rings and what surprises there are. And that's the thing is, you said that I always try and show you something unexpected. And I think that's what I'm always looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to surprise myself. And if you're able to be surprised often, that means you're learning a lot. If everything is as you have expected it to be, that means you're learning nothing.
It sounds like you take the opportunity to engage with somebody and be surprised by that person, or find something that surprises you and find enjoyment in that. That's kind of what nourishes your soul. Whereas maybe somebody in the exact same experience might not see it that way because they're busy, perhaps they're doing something else, they're rushing around and they're not taking the opportunity. Is it then a case of just presence, right, in whatever it is that we're doing? Because if we are truly present in the conversation, there is always something fascinating about it, or something that resonates with you, or some part of it that you can learn from. I mean, I'm seeing it as presence, right? The gift of presence.
Correct. And I think also, I have the ability to listen more deeply and with a bigger capacity to hear people. I would say I get to experience more compassion because a lot of people just hear it and then they go, you stupid, and you're a problem, and they move on because they want to cut themselves off from whatever they are hearing. Whereas for me, I listen and I say, there's got to be a system because you cannot possibly be the only person suffering from that. Let's find the systems that will disconnect you from the pain of the problem that you're experiencing. You may always experience that problem forever, but once we've got a system in place, you can be liberated from the pain of that problem. And so I think that's my greatest message to people who are struggling. You don't need to struggle.
And what do you suggest to them? I love that. You might still experience the problem, but how do you disconnect your discomfort from it? What do you say to them? What's the tip there?
So the greatest tip is you have to start by acknowledging the shame. So shame is a tool that people put onto you to pretend that the problem that you have is actually you. And if you're able to disconnect from the shame and objectively look at the problem and say, this problem is an entity and I am a separate entity. And you say, what is the greatest contribution I can make? I have a problem. That problem will always be there. But how can I step away from that problem? What systems can I take my greatest strengths, put them into, and facilitate myself and others?
I think those people that are open to looking at themselves and looking inwards will find it. It does take some commitment to figuring ourselves out, because we can easily get distracted with life and just never actually do it. But if we take that time, I think we should all get there to figuring it out. And I want to say that for me right now, it's an important time to figure it out. What is our thing, our uniqueness, a thing that we came here to do and to experience? Because with AI just right behind us, anything that can be done by somebody else will be done by AI. Anything that people can do on the computer will be able to be done by AI. And so as people are freaking out, and rightly so, about their jobs, well, the reality is that we need to figure out our thing, because nobody but ourselves can do that thing. But also that's our gift to the world. That's really what we came here to do. That's our, it's our love sort of working through us, not to get too spiritual, but I really believe that there's a purpose for each of us. And there's perhaps there's many things, for each of us. What do you think people should be thinking about when it comes to their jobs and AI, and what they're going to do, if they lose their jobs?
So I saw a video of somebody cracking open pine cones, and they were sitting in it must have been a football field sized space with pine cones, cracking them open to get the pine nuts out for the pine seeds. And it's delicious for a pesto, and I love it and I eat it. And I would be horrified today if somebody was cracking them open by hand like that. But we have machines that do that. And there's a new dawn, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. And AI's ability to take my dictation. So at the moment, I'm dictating a book on nerokomi porcelain, which is a Japanese technique of layering colored porcelain and slicing it and folding it and bending it and hammering it and turning it into beautiful bowls. In fact, that would be an example of a nerokomi colored porcelain bowl. Now, I'm writing that book with considerable help from AI, and I've got also a writing assistant. So I dictate the chapter with all of the technical information. AI takes that and cleans it up and makes it understandable. And then my writing assistant, Daniela, takes that, reads it, and tries to perform the tasks that piece of writing has instructed. I believe that in the future there will only be potters and priests. All other jobs be done by AI. And so either choose the spiritual path or making something with your hands. And it's going to be wonderful. Nobody sitting in an office says, I wish I was sitting in a warehouse of pine cones, cracking pine nuts. The future is going to be better. The future has always fundamentally gotten better. So, you are fearful because you are fearful, not because of the evidence. And so focus on the evidence, focus on the amazing plethora of opportunities that are screaming down this pipeline in your direction faster than your brain can even comprehend. So, I'm releasing a whole series of books summarizing 30 years of research. And I've never been able to convey and communicate the wonder that I experience about ceramics. But with AI, I can communicate that. People are talking about AI taking away jobs. It created a job for Daniela. She has to verify that AI is not talking complete nonsense and hasn't misinterpreted what I said. She has to sit and then make these objects and test that it truly is possible. So, I live an evidence-based life, and my experience is that AI is a gift and it will unlock your talents and your gifts.
John, those are beautiful words. I couldn't agree more, really. And I think it's lovely that you share how you feel, because there is a lot of anxiety in the world right now with people. And I really see things exactly as you do. And part of my purpose is trying to release that anxiety, because we are heading towards a wonderful, wonderful new world. Sure, there's going to be chaos in the middle and, crazy things and change. You like change. That's the main thing. There is going to be change, and that's uncomfortable. And I think that people also fear that, right? It's that, oh, how am I going to adapt? And, I like technology. I know, there's a lot of, but it's change. But if we can ease into what's coming and embrace it, and even just one very simple tip, and I do this with ChatGPT all the time, wherever my tension is, wherever I'm struggling with, like, for example, it's time, I'm doing a lot of things. How do I fit it all? I put it into little ChatGPT and I say, well, thank you. That's amazing. Everything you've given me here. But my issue is this. Oh, well, let's talk about that issue. Oh, all of a sudden that issue is resolved. Well, I have another anxiety now, but what about this? Oh, well, let's talk about that. And my experience with using AI has been that it's just big time decreased my anxiety overall. You know what I mean? Because any problem that I have, I just put it on there and it gives me such a good reflection, such a good perspective, such a good way of looking at things. I couldn't have done that by myself, or maybe I could have, through some sort of psychology. I don't know, but this is very easy. I just put it into ChatGPT. I said, this is my problem. Hey, and it reflects it back to me in a way that I understand it in my language, with my experience. At the end, ChatGPT, I'm sure it does it for most people or all people. It usually asks you a question back, or it suggests something. And now, would you like me to do this for you? Or tell me, how do you feel about this and that? And then the questions that it asks me are, very much about alignment and things like that. And I say to it, do you ask everybody this, or do you ask me this? Because it's like, no, I ask you that because I know you, and I know that's what you need. And I know that that's how you work best, when you're aligned. So it's important that you're aligned. Therefore, I ask you these alignment questions, but not everybody. And that's AI for you, right? I mean, it's taking me, it's reflecting me back. It's teaching me in a way I understand, and for me, it's just blown my mind at how I'm just more creative, more, just everything more efficient, not just more efficient, more creative, more at peace, more aligned. I also understand the anxiety around it. And I want to have more of these conversations. And I hear, I listen to a lot of podcasts on what's coming. I'm not an expert in AI, but I use it and I'm having that user experience. And I was saying this to my boyfriend today that, we are going to look back at this time as one of the most exciting times in history. We are going to look back and go, oh my gosh, I wish I had been alive in 2026 when all this craziness was going on with AI. Can you imagine? I mean, I am so sure this is some, person in the future is looking back and saying that. And here we are. Anybody can go right now for free to the internet and learn Claude Coworker. I'm just learning that now, for example. If you learn Claude Coworker, you have an assistant that will be better than any assistant you've ever had in your entire life, who can sort out that admin. I like to keep all my receipts. I'm like a bit perfectionist, and like, oh my God, I don't enjoy doing it. Thank you so much, Claude coworker.
Yeah, it's very liberating and it's freeing. And I think that worry is it's like ink. If you take a Cokie pen and you put it in water, it will spread and it will color that entire glass of water. And it's a specific. General anxiety is you'll find something to latch onto.
It's been lovely to have you. Is there something that you would like to leave us with? Any parting thoughts?
I would say the best thing you can do is find your local potter, go buy a mug, and spend 10 days every morning drinking out of a handmade mug where you know what the eyes of the maker look like. And I would say that to have a special spiritual breakthrough, every morning, WhatsApp that maker a photo of the mug with tea in it that you're drinking. Just that one bridge building between you and your local potter. And there are potters all around the world. So no matter where you're listening from, there are potters in every city on earth. And it is a beautiful adventure because people who work with clay have a slowness and a deliberateness and a humility that I have not found in any other population group. So enjoy the adventure. In the future, we will only have potters and priests. Choose your path.
Lovely, John. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. You've put a challenge forth and I like it. I like this challenge. So you are down the road from me. So I will be seeing you very, very soon. I make a promise before the half of the year 2026. I will make my mug with you, hopefully, and we'll do that to you. And we've already built a bridge. It's a lovely one. So thank you so much, John, and hopefully we'll chat with you soon.
Cool, lekker. Cheers.
Do you agree with how John sees the world? I would love to know. And for more conversations on the emergence of AI, consciousness, and spirituality, I post videos every week. You know what to do.